All right, Isaac Harris, let's keep talking about this Dallas Mavericks win against the Golden State Warriors. A couple of big questions coming out of that game. Late in the game, the Mavericks went to this small ball lineup. And we talked about it a little yesterday, but they went with Davis Bertans at the 4, Dorian Finney-Smith at the 5 late in this game for a lot of the fourth quarter. But then even later, after they took Davis Bertans out, at the very end of this game, for the last couple of minutes, they had Luka, Brunson, Dinwiddie, Bullock, and Dorian Finney-Smith out there. That is Luka is the tallest guy in that lineup. That is a 6 foot to 6'8" lineup of just guys like that. And Brunson is the only 6 foot guy. There's, Brunson is 6 foot. There's Bullock and Dinwiddie. They're both listed as 6'5", 6'6". Dorian is 6'7", and Luka is 6'8". How much can the Mavs get away with a small ball lineup like that?
I think they can for a lot of matchups. Going back to what I said a little bit ago, the playoffs are so much different than the regular season. And having that flexibility to be able to do that, I think is so key because, so somebody tweeted at me after the game was like, all right, cool. They ran, basically, I'm paraphrasing here. They ran small ball. Dorian at 5 was fun, but how often are you even going to, when does it even matter type thing? Because there's some other guys out there. And it's like, all right, well, who's scaring you enough to where you have to adjust? When you start looking across the board, Golden State doesn't have a big out there. I know
they just did it.
Yeah, and so you just play that way. Utah, they don't give a crap about Rudy Gobert. So it doesn't matter. They're
on
not
offense.
Yeah, I mean, but I say they don't give a crap about Rudy Gobert because they're not putting in a big because Rudy Gobert is on the floor. The Clippers didn't care about it last year, and they beat them in a series, and that will be the Mavs, if they play them in the playoffs.
Yep.
Then you're looking at Memphis. It's all right. I mean, cool. If you want to put Steven Adams out there, then sure, we'll dare you. We'll play the Boban treatment, and dare you to throw it down low. You're not changing up your whole game plan for Steven Adams. And it's Jaren Jackson Jr., that's probably a maxi matchup, but you're just looking at, it's Jokic, right? Jokic is the only guy that if you face them in a playoff series, which I've said since we've started debating this group of teams, Denver is last on this list. Utah is number 1. Memphis is 2 for me. Denver is last as far as those 3. That would just change up some things because I don't think you can even pull off small ball at all. I mean, you'd have to have at least some. I mean, he's going to get his numbers anyway, but you'd at least have to throw Maxey or Dwight. I mean, something.
The one thing about, so the Mavs or most likely play Memphis or Utah if they stay about where they are and don't make any kind of huge, movement up or down. They would play Memphis or Utah. And with Utah, you kind of made the point, is that they're not worried about Rudy Gobert on offense, right? The other day, the Mavs played a little small. They played Dwight Powell out there. We all know Dwight Powell is not the best defender, especially against bigs like that. And Rudy Gobert had 6 buckets, and they were all dunks. There wasn't any kind of post up, anything like that. They're not doing any of that stuff. The other thing is Memphis. And Memphis right now, according to Cleaning the Glass, is 23rd in the NBA in half-court offense. Memphis thrives on getting transition buckets. And the Mavs, when they don't turn the ball over, unlike what they did against the Warriors, they'll limit that. And then they'll get into a half-court set. And then all of a sudden, the Grizzlies are just not as efficient in that area because they don't have a lot of guys that can get their own shot off the dribble. Ja obviously can, and he's been incredible this year. But other than that, are you worried about Jaren Jackson Jr. posting up? Are you worried again about Steven Adams posting up? I think as long as the Mavs can throw a double and rotate well enough, then they can handle that, right? He's not going to kill you. Jaren Jackson Jr. is not going to kill you as much as a Jokic would, that you would change your entire scheme and lineup to, put somebody else out there. So I'm with you. I think they can get away with this, especially against the teams they're going to play with. They're not facing a Joel Embiid. They're not facing even a Bam Adebayo or a Giannis. They're just not.
Ayton is a guy that I would just be curious on how they play him.
I mean, they would only play him in the second round though. If they.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying any potential
West team, yeah.
Yeah, him. I think Towns would probably be in that Jokic, AD, especially when you have, a marksman like him, one of the best shooting bigs ever in that. But, you bring up the small ball because it's opened up so many things. And I know we laughed about your comment earlier in the season about the stretch of 5 games could define the season and all of that. But I'm going to bring this back for a second.
Oh,
turn the camera on, intern. Could this fourth quarter defined the Mavs season.
Oh, I went with a stretch of 5 games. You went with literally like a 12-minute span of
And I say define it because I feel like this fourth quarter has the potential for us to come back to and reference so many times. Like it's one of those points of the season of, remember when they first threw Dorian out the 5 in that small, remember that comeback. Remember when they put 3 guys. Remember when Bertans was out there as the 4 with Dorian. Remember the 3-guard lineup that we really saw it in stride there in the fourth quarter. They closed out with Dinwiddie and Brunson, with Luka kind of for the first time there. Like I don't think it's determining the whole season. They beat the Warriors, so therefore they're winning the title type thing. But I think it's one of those defining moments that we could look back on and reference for the rest of the season.